Matthew, how are you feeling today?
Fulfilled. Woke up this morning, went shooting, had the facial done,
Nice.
had some meetings. It's a very good time. Very good times, very fulfilling times. I'm very excited about
Nice.
life at the moment. You know, sometimes we have bad periods where we struggle to
Yeah.
accomplish and to do whatever is on our to-do list, and other times we feel energetic and good. And I'm at that
Nice.
place at the moment.
Perhaps this is related to the game that you've launched recently.
That too. We just launched it yesterday, so I'm excited about that too.
What's the story behind it?
I'm a sex and relationship therapist,
Yes.
and I've always thought, how can we get people to talk about sex and relationships more, you know? And even in therapy, when I meet couples, I ask some questions, and they'd be together for 10 years, 15 years, and they've never asked these questions to each other. And they wouldn't know the answer for it, because sometimes we think that we know our partner because we've been with them for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But we wouldn't have asked questions that help us get to know them at a deeper level.
Okay.
So I got all the team together, we got all these questions together,
Yeah.
we joined forces with Cardible Byte, who are renowned in Malta
Yes.
for their card games and their
I
games.
don't think I've played the game yet,
No,
but I
you
know
should.
the game.
You should.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's a good game. So we got our heads together and we supplied the questions. They
Yeah.
came up with a fantastic design, and now there's a game that couples are playing. And as I was saying, as we were setting up, it's a different feeling when you develop a product and people are coming to buy it, and they are investing their energy and their time and
Yeah.
resources to get the product. It's
And
like,
it's
wow.
recreational as well, so it's not a therapeutic session.
Mhm.
It can be intimate as well,
Yes,
obviously.
very
And you can. Okay, let me take it a step back, because at the start you mentioned that there are questions to which we don't know the answer to, and that leads to the self-awareness state, how self-aware we are, and sometimes we don't have the time to be self-reflexive and to introspect a bit, or we don't know how to do it.
Or we don't want to do it
Yeah.
because we're scared of what we might find, or we're scared of what we might not find when we reflecting. It's easier to project onto others. It's easier to live a life full of distractions from one thing to the other, be it work, be it traveling, be it whatever it is, sports. To stop and reflect and to think about yourself hard enough and long enough to realize where you need to improve is also admitting to yourself that you're not perfect, that you don't know everything, that there are aspects of yourself that you don't like. And not everyone can do that and accept that feeling, because it's not positive. It's not a positive feeling to admit to yourself that you fucked up, that you made a mistake, that you didn't treat someone well, that you made a bad decision, a wrong decision. It's much easier to blame others for it.
Yeah.
So doing it, I think it's the only way, because a philosopher says the life not, do you know how it's?
I think
How
it's
it
about
is?
existence. It's about if you're not living, you're not existing.
No, it's the life not reflected upon is not worth living.
Okay.
So when we are living a life from one dissection to the next, you're not growing. So you're the same person you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
And then there's the other story of the river, that you can't step into the same river twice.
Yes, for sure. So yes, you need a lot of self-reflection. And hopefully the game helps couples do that, and individuals within the couple as well to do that, yes, definitely.
I think it's based, the fear of not self-reflecting is based on judgment. I think we are afraid of the judgment that we place on ourselves and those of others as well. What would be your tip to someone who's trying to be vulnerable with oneself and with the other people around them? How can they do it and sort of not jeopardize their well-being in a way?
It's not easy. It's not easy to be open to feedback. I think it's about developing a growth mindset. It's about understanding that the feedback you're getting today will help you be a better person tomorrow. And who you were yesterday is not who you are. What am I saying with this? That if I gave a workshop and people are telling me, you weren't energetic, you were repeating yourself, I might judge myself and say, Mela, I'm not good at doing this. I shouldn't be doing workshops because that's who I am. That's what they described. It's most of them who said that, so I'm not good at this. But I can say, what do I need to do to work on these aspects of me as a public speaker? And get mentors on board, get people who can help me, record myself giving speeches so that I can see if I'm repeating myself or not, and then work on that and grow in that aspect.
Yeah.
Now, that's the difference between growth mindset and the fixed mindset, right?
Yes.
And I think it's very much what you're talking about, it's very much this, that if you're accepting that who you are is constantly developing, then getting feedback is only fuel to your growth. So even within yourself, if you're stopping to hear yourself and to ask yourself, who am I? What did I do well today? What can I improve on? Right? Then it's not criticism, but it's constructive feedback so that you grow as a person. Some of us might be, when they're reflecting, hearing voices which are very critical. And the way I work with my clients when they describe this is give that voice, give those sentences, that criticism, an actual voice of someone you know. And most of the time you'd see that you developed that form of abuse towards yourself, that form of criticism, because someone taught you that, because someone spoke to you in that way. And when you start giving those thoughts that voice, you start to understand that that's not you. That's what you've been taught about yourself. And that way you can distance the criticism from yourself, which is very different from feedback. So when I give you feedback, it's me, even if I'm saying the same thing, but it's coming from a good place, a place where I want you to grow. If I'm criticizing you, then I just want to make you feel bad about yourself. Or I want to feel good by pushing you down, by putting you down. So it's important to differentiate between the two. So we talked about two extremes. One is when it's never my fault, it's always everyone else's fault. And I think that doesn't help you grow. Okay? That keeps you alienated from reality, and it doesn't allow you to take ownership of any aspect of the shadow of the dark self, right? So you will never come to terms with that. The other is when you've been criticized so much that all that you tell yourself is criticism by saying you're not good at this, you should not try this, you're making a fool of yourself. And that also stops our growth. So I think it's important to talk to ourselves the same way we talk to our best friends. I see a lot of men who suffer from premature ejaculation, which is a performance anxiety issue. And I talk about this constantly with them. Because what does a man tell himself when he's suffering from this? You're going to repeat what you did last time, you're not good at this, they're going to laugh at you, you're going to make a fool out of yourself. And I tell them, now stop and just imagine that your friend, your best friend, is going through the same issue. What would you tell them? And chances are you tell him, come on buddy, I believe it happened, doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Okay, just breathe, just calm down, it's only a woman, it's only a man, just be who you are, try your best to space, to pace yourself, which is very different from what they would be telling themselves.
Yeah.
And you can see on their face that this realization helps them, be kinder to themselves. It takes time.
It does.
It does take a lot of time and effort.
The words that we choose to speak to, everyone speaks to themselves, either a voce alta
Yes.
or inside our mind. So everyone speaks to oneself. The choice of words that we use to speak ourselves. Before we started the podcast, we were saying about bombastic words, buzzwords, toxic relationships, mentioned feedback,
burnout.
It's a difference saying that this is feedback or criticism. The choice of words have different connotations and mean different things. So it's very important. We have to be aware and mindful of the significance of the words and the value that we place with those kind of words. So we have to choose the words that we use, even for with ourselves and with others as well. So we don't talk about other people.
Because I think that the same way that when we talk about physical health, we talk about what kind of food you put in your body and what kind of vitamins you put in your body. When we're talking about mental health, we need to talk about what words we plant in our head, because those words will make a difference on how we feel in the morning, how much we're going to push ourselves, and how confident we feel. Definitely.
When it comes to feedback, you mentioned feedback and people give you feedback and they mean well. My thought process with regards to feedback is that I agree with the fact that people mean well when they give feedback. It doesn't mean that you have to accept all the feedback. You have to evaluate whether that feedback applies to you or to the person that you want to be. So people can tell you many things, which is valuable. But then you have to ask yourself, do I want to be this kind of person? Do I want to exhibit this kind of behavior? So instead of being agreeable with all the feedback that you receive, you have to sift it as well, even if it comes from a good place.
Yes, even by reminding yourself who the person telling you is, where they're at in their life, and what they wish for you. Because I think that is a very important part of communication. Okay? The person speaking, giving the message, why the intention behind it. So it could be your mom telling you, what are you doing, podcast? Mara, you're going crazy. Matarash, putting yourself out there. What if no one watches it? What if people write hate speech on your comments? She might be saying it to protect you, to keep you safe. Maybe that is how she chooses to live her life and how she wants you to live your life. But it doesn't mean that that's what you are and who you are or who you want to be. So yeah.
You reminded me, not sure whether this will be a bit controversial at the moment, but when you explained that you get advice from your mother, it reminded me of Love Island. Do you have any thoughts about what's going on this island with regards to Love Island? It's very much up your alley.
Yes. I think that it's a human experiment. To a certain extent, it's a psychological experiment.
It is.
And I do watch it. I don't watch it every day, but I do watch it. And I think that I'm fascinated at how, at a certain level, it's representative of how young people look at relationships nowadays. Where we hear people saying, I don't want to commit because someone better might be, a bombshell might be entering my life. Which is coming from, because I read a lot about it because it's my topic, it's coming from this Netflix generation.
Okay.
Where at night, when I go home, I put on the app on my TV, I see hundreds of movie titles, and I watch trailers, and whilst I'm watching the trailer, I'm telling myself, but is this good enough? Isn't there something better than this? Then I start a movie, spend 5 minutes. If I'm not captivated in the first 5 minutes, I'm either asleep or I move on to another movie. So that is what I generally do. When I'm going on holiday, I'm very well planned, organized. I have a to-do list for everything and a SOP for everything.
Right.
However, I always forget to download movies on my tablet for the plane.
Yeah.
So I always end up downloading a movie from Netflix whilst I'm in the queue to board.
Yeah.
And what do? I click on the first movie I find. You'd be surprised. That movie I always enjoy. And I always watch till the end. What's the difference? That on the plane, that's the only movie available.
Yeah.
It's either that or talking to the person next to me. Right?
And if you're traveling alone.
So I commit to it.
Yeah.
And because I commit to it and I invest my energy in it, then I enjoy it. I don't always recommend the movies I watch on the plane because they're not always the best movies, but I do enjoy it. I genuinely enjoyed every movie I watched on the planes. But at home, when I feel that there's so many other movies I can watch, that's when I get very picky.
We're spoiled for choice.
Yes. And we think we're spoiled for choice. Because, to top that, the brain, when we look at Instagram, when we look at Facebook or Tinder or Bumble, and we see those women, man looking at us and smiling, our brain registers that as that person wants me. So there's this feeling of FOMO. I don't want to miss out on the bombshell that's coming in.
Yeah.
So I don't want to commit because what's coming in to the Love Island villa might be better than this person I'm coupled with. Yeah. And at the same time, we're given the impression that all the people on Tinder and on Bumble and all the others want us. So then it's harder to choose.
But you're still in the honeymoon phase at that stage too. So
in Love Island, you mean?
Yes, and even if you're going from one day to another, you're still not even at the honeymoon phase because you haven't put some commitment to that relation. Just meeting people and
meeting people, but at the same time it's quite intense as well because you have no feedback from people who are related to you or who are close to you because they're all new people to you.
Yeah.
So there's no distractions or communication other than the people in the villa. And you sleep every day with this person.
Yeah.
And you're with them 24/7.
That makes a huge difference.
So 2 weeks in the villa is not 2 weeks dating outside.
Yes.
Okay. And I think the fact that you're with this person 24/7, you're not given time and space to think and to reflect. Because in the normal life, you go on a date, you chat, you go to work, you meet your friends, you talk about this person, they give you feedback about patterns, another one. You always go for this type, you know?
Yes.
And you reflect, you meet again, you know what to ask because you've reflected on it.
Yeah.
But if you're living with them from day one, or day -2 or -3, because you're not a couple yet,
yes,
then that's going to play.
And people change, so the dynamics change constantly. And that is very intense, that's true. The experience that I can relate to some extent is the camps that we do at Scouts. So in summer we have this 10-day summer camp, and I say this all the time. The children, when they come in on day 1, on day 10 they are different children. Because the experience, the 10-day, it's in summer, it's in Santa Maria, so it's hot, there with no resources, no internet, just pure outdoor fun.
Yes.
And they have to spend time with their friends and doing challenges and whatnot, doing duties as well, because they have duties to do. And they come out with a different mindset. You can see the growth in 10 days, especially in 2 weeks, 24/7. That is quite intense.
Of course.
And for those who have never experienced a long-term camp or a trip outside Malta or the country of residence, it's a life-changing experience.
Yes. Now, on top of that, add people who are in their swimsuit 24/7,
Yeah.
people you like who are in their swimsuit at 24/7, and the people you're coupled, the person you're coupled with, you get to sit and watch them go on a date with someone else,
Mm.
which obviously will affect
It does.
how you look at her or him and how you're going to react. So I think it's quite interesting. I think it's an interesting experiment. Some people say, what is it teaching our youth? But if our youth are still looking at programs like Love Island as educators, we have a big problem with our education system.
Yes.
Because I think it's very clear that Love Island is
For
entertainment.
Yes, it is. It is.
No? So if we are thinking that our youth we want to censor Love Island because it's damaging our youth, I think we need to really, really think very hard at our education system and what we think of our youth.
This is the same with video games. That has been an ongoing topic, that violence on video games is damaging, and certain movies that portray violence are damaging, when in reality it's not the movie that is damaging, it's the interpretation that the person viewing that movie is associating that with. It can be an adult. So an adult can fantasize about killing someone. If they watch a documentary on Netflix about a serial killer, for example, they might, I can do that. So it depends on the value that we attribute to that movie or game.
For sure. But if we teach our youth to be critical thinkers, to ask questions, to not just believe whatever they watch and they read, then we have no problem with them being exposed to anything.
Yeah.
But if we're still teaching our youth to believe whatever they're being told, because I said so, because I'm authority, and we raise them obeying us because I'm your mom, because I'm your dad, because that's what I say, because this is my house, then we're not teaching, we're not raising critical thinkers. We're raising people who will just buy whatever TV tells them, who will just do what their employer tells them. When really and truly, I think we need to be raising critical thinkers, people who are willing to question, to research for themselves, to read different opinions, different ideas, and then make up their mind.
I think the youngsters, especially when compared to when I was young, my peers, I think they ask very good questions. They are very well aware of their rights. I was very naive at that age, so I think it's they ask good questions. They know what they know what they are what they should be receiving, but it's about knowing the consequences of their actions and the way that they use the power that they have, because they do have power, even
and as you said before the podcast, with power comes responsibility. 100%. Power is okay. Power is good. Power is a tool. Then how you use it. Money is good. Money is a tool. Yeah. It's how you use it. No? Mm-hmm. And this is what sometimes I'm giving workshops in schools, and you can see them in youth centers or in schools. You can see them on their mobile fact checking what I'm saying. And they would come back with, yes, but this person said this. And I loved it, and I think that that's very important. Because even if they didn't tell me, they would still be thinking it. So the fact that they feel safe enough to tell me, I'm very happy with that. And we can start a conversation and discuss different ideas. And also, there were times when I had to admit that, yes, this person is right. What I'm saying is not generalizable for every kind of relationship, and what you're reading there is about a different kind of relationship, and they're both okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that some youth nowadays are more critical thinkers, but I also think that we need to balance it out with, as you're saying, responsibility and care for the community. Because if we then get this inflated sense of self-righteousness and ego, and also egocentricism, when We think that, life is my movie, I'm the main actor all the time,
Yes.
and I justify whatever I do because that's how I felt, or because that's what I felt I needed at the time, then that's going to be a problem. Not just for the community, but even for the individual. Because we know that satisfaction and happiness comes also from feeling valuable within a community. And nowadays we are seeing people who are working as freelancers and remote, who have very minimal time and connection with colleagues or with clients, and they are suffering with mental health issues. So it's great to work remotely, it's great to be a freelancer, but it's also important to be part of a community. Doesn't have to be your workplace community, it could be a sports community, But people who are just working and they're not going to an office, they're not talking to colleagues, we see it all the time, that they are struggling with mental health issues.
It's the balance that we need to have. Earlier we mentioned about leisure and work. So work is good. Work can be fun. Contrary to what people might think. Work can be fun, and it's a very nice feeling to go to work every day, feeling happy, feeling at ease at the workplace. That is my realm.
Yes.
So that is very nice. However, we need to balance things out. We need to spend time with family. We need to spend time with friends, and to do hobbies.
Yes, and also to push ourselves.
Yeah.
And to stay with what nowadays are being called negative emotions. Because it's through those negative emotions that we grow. Emotions are a signal that our body, our brain are giving us to change something or to do something or to solidify something. It's not a permanent state for sure, unless we make it a permanent state. And it's not the most important thing. We shouldn't expect the rest of the world to accommodate our feelings. If I'm feeling anxious at the first day at work, I need to do something about it. I need to work on my anxiety to accommodate the workplace or the community. Not because we want people to be part of a communist country where we all live for the greater good, but because it will help us grow. If every time I feel an emotion, I base my decision solely on that emotion, then I'm going to be scared of a lot of things. Then I'm going to keep myself back from a lot of new experiences. So I need to feel angry to reflect on what I need to change in my life or who I need to change in my life. I need to feel sad to understand what's bothering me. I need to be happy to reward myself for doing something good. So emotions are there to help us navigate through life, not to be the compass of our life, which is very, very different. And I think that nowadays, sometimes I blame psychology as well, okay? We are not teaching the whole book of emotions. We're just sticking to, if you feel this way, follow your heart. Follow how you feel about it. When I don't believe that. What do you think about this?
Personally, I'm very rational, so I try to. So at the moment, I'm going through this process. So thank you for asking the question. It's very interesting. Where I know that my rational side is very strong, but I'm very emotional as well. So even through my line of work and even me personally, I think I do have quite a high emotional intelligence, which these are sometimes conflicting. And until a few months ago, I saw these as two separate entities. And now I'm working on myself to sort of merge them.
Yes.
And to be emotionally present and emotionally they're intelligent enough to know myself and know what I'm feeling at the moment, but at the same time being aware of the other person that is in front of me as well.
And how are you managing it?
In what sense? What am I doing? Trying to be mindful. Personally, I do a lot of self-reflection afterwards. So, for example, let me get this podcast as an example. After the podcast, on my way back home, I would say, okay, what did I do right? What can I improve? What if I could ask a different question? What were the questions that I asked? How can I ask them differently? And these microscopic changes, they have a compounding effect over time. At least that is what I believe. And that is the way I do it. I ask myself questions. So it might be very silly, but it works for me.
Have you ever heard of Kaizen? Kaizen?
Yes, I think we discussed this
is exactly what you're describing. Kaizen is asking yourself enough questions to help you reflect on the, as you put it, the very micro things, very small things, so that throughout time you're improving as a person on all grounds. So that's exactly what you're doing.
Nice.
That you're reflecting on the small things so that you change and develop and grow and evolve. Yes.
What I find most useful is that I look back 3 months time, 6 months time, and see, okay, where did I come from? How was I thinking 6 months back and 6 months in the past? And this is very much like training. You don't see the results immediately after 1 week, after 1 month, or at least you see the initial results. But the real results come in at a later stage. And our brain is like a muscle, so we have to train it. But yes, at the moment I'm on a journey to because I think that is one skill that I need to develop in order to be successful in my business as well. To merge the rational side and the emotional side as well.
This is what we do here as well at Willingness, where every week we stand up in a circle and we give each other feedback. And we say one thing that we appreciate about the person, which sometimes is them working on the feedback we gave them or they gave us last week.
Okay.
And one aspect where we feel they need to focus on to grow. Sometimes people get the same feedback week after week because they're working on it, but they're still struggling with it.
Yeah.
But at the beginning it was very difficult. And what made it difficult was not we were too critical, but everyone's trying to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
I don't have anything bad to say about you. I like you. Thank you for making me coffee last time.
Yeah.
But when we started taking it seriously and understanding it, we understood that it's a gift that we're giving each other. So I spent a week working with you. So I'm observing you. What you're doing is affecting me. And now I have a time to look you in the eye, say thank you for what you did, but also remind you what I think you need to work on. And sometimes it's repeated by other people, sometimes it's just me saying this, observing this. We just take it in, we don't try to justify it, we don't say, yes, but I did that, yeah, I hear you, but, no, just listen to it. Reflect on it, and then every 6 months, we sit down one-on-one, and we work on what we call a goal alignment, where we align our goal as an organization, as a team, with the goal of the individual. And every 6 months, I'm saying this because you mentioned it as well, every 6 months, me and the partner at Willingness, we look ourselves for 2 days, we reflect on the last 6 months, and we plan the next 6 months. And then we spend the whole day, literally the whole day, with the team, sharing with them where we feel we came from and where we're going. And obviously they give feedback too. And then we have small workshops where everyone focuses on an aspect of the goal so that we all push to reach the same goal at the end of the 6 months. But I, as a leader here, I've seen people grow. I've seen people grow in 6 months. Sometimes we get interns for 6 months or for 3 months, and you can see that because they feel that the feedback that we're giving is genuine, and it's because we want you to grow and because we want us to grow as well. You can see that people push and people manage to do things that they never thought that they would do. They were always scared of. I've worked with people who would stutter, who nowadays give workshops, for organizations. And when you see that growth, you can see that the person is taking in the feedback, weighing it, and doing something with it. But then obviously all this needs to be paralleled and coupled with mentoring.
Yeah.
So as an employer, you can't just say, "Isma, you need to work on this,"
and
not offer the space for growth and for asking to be trained in skills and in knowledge and in aptitude. So, but what you're describing, yes, we do it on a organizational level, and it does make a difference. Obviously, there are people who would take the feedback at heart, who would take the feedback as criticism, and most people, the vast majority of people, the longer they stay with us, they realize that it's coming from a good place. But others obviously would
it's
also
the culture
feel,
you create.
yes.
And it's, earlier you mentioned the community, it's the sense of community that there is, and it's sort of, in inverted commas, a shared burden that we are all in this journey, we are together. So I have to be part of this because it's something bigger than me as well.
And the main goal is always, because we do the same thing, or very similar something.
Yeah.
The main goal is to be the best possible tool for our client.
Yeah.
Because we are the tool that we use. When I used to work as a hairdresser 700 years ago, I used to make sure that my scissors are the sharpest, they're the cleanest, my combs are all aligned. Why? Because those were the tools that I use.
Yeah.
So my main investment was always in my tools. If I don't have good scissors, I'm going to get split ends on my clients, I'm not going to have a good haircut. Nowadays, I know that what we do here, we are the tools.
Yeah.
So unless we invest in ourselves, then we're not going to be of the best service. And in order to invest in ourselves, we need to, as a community, as a team, push each other, nudge each other to stay focused. Because, as you said, work can be fun, and it is fun, and I love what I do, but it's also responsibility.
It is. Yeah.
And it's a very big responsibility because, accepting it or not, people project onto us a level of expertise. So, and I see this even in my personal life. So if a friend of mine calls another OCD, into OCD, they laugh it off. If I say it, there's much more weight to it. If a friend of mine calls another, "You're crazy," they laugh it off. It's a chef calling me crazy.
Yeah.
But if I call them crazy,
There's a certain weight.
yes, which I chose to take on. And because I chose to take it on, now I need to be responsible with it. Because it benefits me as well, this power. I have the privilege of working with people I love, people who help me grow all the time, and also with clients who just come through the door, sit down and tell me their life story. Tell me their darkest secrets. Tell me things that they've never told anyone. They share with me thoughts that scare them. That they think that if they tell people who love them, who genuinely love them, they will be judged or shunned out of the family or religion or whatever, or couple. So just by being who I am, just by having a title, this person just comes to my office, sits down in front of me, and in the first 5 minutes tells me more than he has ever told anyone else in their life. What a privilege. Because with every session, I'm learning more about the human brain, the human behavior. And that is making me very, very rich, because I get to learn from all these people. Because by sharing time and space with people who are struggling, and give them space to think and to reflect and to open up to you, you are learning about their coping strategies as well. And sometimes I learn from these. I always learn from them, but sometimes I take them on and I say, lahwa, you know? I'm going to adapt this. Forgiveness. I work and worked with couples who are going through infidelity, and I remember not just one person, but different people, and I'm sitting there listening to them and saying, I would never forgive this, you know. And as part of my job, I would ask, what is making you forgive, you know? And they say things like, because this is just an action that happened in the last year. But I've been with this person for 20 years, for 15 years. So I can't just judge this person on this action, even if it is the most hurtful action I've ever experienced.
I don't think that I would be able to do that, to be honest.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that sometimes people think that they're weak because they go to therapy, you know?
Yeah.
But I've
That's
sat
strength.
across strong people, huh?
That is strength, for
Yes,
sure.
people
hands
who
down.
lost their children. And every morning they open their eyes and they live for the memory of their child. And this is why I think that we always have options in life. You know, the circle of control, circle of influence, circle of, what was the other one? Control, influence, and acceptance. That's what I struggle with, so that's why I forgot it. But I've worked with people who learned to accept things in their life, and they gave it a meaning. You know, sometimes I hear this conversation quite often on social media. All this suffering, why does it make, what is this suffering? I wouldn't want to suffer this way. I don't want to accept this suffering. But people who gave suffering a meaning became more fulfilled, are more satisfied. And I'm impressed at how happy they are. Because I can feel miserable and depressed and not get out of bed because I lost a child, or I can push myself harder so I don't waste time and my life away, because I know that my son can't have this, but I do have it. So now it became more important that I live a good life, that I take care of myself. So it's the same action, you know, like infidelity. It could be an exit, and I'm not saying that people should stay after cheating, you know. It's their decision, and it's much more complex than just this.
Yes.
But I can see cheating as an exit. No, I can't deal with this. I can't forgive you, so I'm out. Or I can say, okay, this is going to make us reflect on the relationship. And I've seen people who would say, what is my role in all of this? What is my role in you betraying me? What did I do to allow this, for this to happen? And then they both look at it as a team. Instead of you hurt me so you need to pay for it, which is okay as well, because anger is part of the process as well. But when the couple looks at the infidelity and they try to make sense of it and they try to grow from it, I've seen couples flourish. I've seen couples who improve their sex life after infidelity, who improve their level of intimacy, who decided that, you know what, we're the couple, we're going to put each other first in our priority list, work, kids, and everything else comes second. Because when we were going through this, my life was shattered. So now I understand how important you are to me, so I'm going to show you this by living it every day. So I think suffering is part of life, you know. I think sometimes we're fed the idea that we should be chasing happiness all the time.
We are.
And that somehow we can click a button, pay or buy something or reach a goal, and that will guarantee happiness for the rest of our lives. But really and truly, I think that with every option, with every decision that we make, we're signing up for a different kind of suffering.
And there's happiness in suffering, I would say.
Yes, for sure.
We mentioned training, even before the podcast. If you're not suffering during the workout, you might feel that you're actually working out because you are suffering during the workout, but afterwards, if you're drained and you can't move your body, you feel satisfied because you did something good and you're happy.
Of course, there's a difference between the physical discomfort of pulling weights to losing a child, for sure. But life is a series of letting go, is a series of suffering. It's up to us on how we look at that. No? But yes, when people live with a sense of entitlement, I hear professionals say, I study so hard, so now I deserve this income. No, you studied so hard to get access to this job, not to access to this guaranteed income. For this income, you still need to work. You know, I dated so many people, I chose this person. How is she going to leave me now? How is she going to leave me now? I suffered so much until I got here. Yes, because it's a relationship. You need to keep working at it.
It's a different person altogether, so you're starting afresh. So in dating, you are the expert here. So I think when it comes to dating, it's not about dating gives you confidence.
Yes.
It gives you experience to some extent, but it depends on how you reflect upon the experience.
Yes.
But I think dating only gives you confidence and self-validation, and to a certain extent, and
or sense of rejection.
Yes,
you can confirm that you're not good enough. Because people always ghost you after the first date.
But then you have to tell yourself, okay, what am I doing? Because that is on you most probably. You can't. In my opinion, you're doing something wrong for sure. I think it's on you.
Yes.
Because you can't, out of 30 people, if everybody goes to you after the first chat, or you're doing something wrong. So we have to accept that at some point in time.
Yes.
But you mentioned patterns before, so I think that is a pattern. If something keeps on repeating to us, there is a pattern that we are contributing to. It might not be on us entirely, but we are contributing something to that for that to happen to us.
Yes. And I think the key is reflection. Reflection, but honest reflection.
Yeah.
Okay? Because we hear too often that all the exes are narcissists, all the exes are psychos, all the exes, or men are bastards, or women are whatever, you know. But is it all women who are like this, or is it the women you're attracting, or the women you want, or do you drive the women this way? So what's happening there? Eh?
Difficult questions.
Yeah, that's the whole point, no?
Yes.
That's the whole point. Asking different questions. Yeah.
What are you currently working on a personal level, Matthew?
At this point in time, it's sugar.
Okay.
So in the last year, I've worked very, very strongly on adopting a healthier lifestyle. So I wake up at 5 every morning. I cycle to work, get my tennis racket, play tennis every day. Sometimes go to the gym, sometimes play another tennis match, sometimes I play 2.
Okay.
Come to work, shower, start my day. And I'm loving it. I start my work at 9 or 10 every day, and I'm loving that. I'm eating healthier as well. Sugar is still... I love it. I love ice cream. I love cakes. So I'm still feeling very happy that I managed to develop a healthy lifestyle that allows me to eat the same amount of sugars but feel healthier and be fitter. But I think that the next level is controlling my sugar intake.
Okay.
And I've already managed to cut down sugar with tea, coffee. Yeah. I try not to get any sweets into my house or into my office. But when I'm out eating, I love my sweets.
Yes,
I love my sugars.
the dessert. It's part of the Maltese meal, sort of.
Yes,
So,
yes. I'm reading a lot.
okay.
So there was a time when I wanted to read a book a week, but then I realized that it's another form of distraction, another goal, that it's about the number rather than what I'm understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays I download, because I hear my books, I don't read my books.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And I download books, and I'm loving it. I listen to about 30 minutes a day whilst I'm decluttering my house in the morning. Before I go cycling, I declutter my house. It helps me, and I'm making my bed, and I'm watering my plants. So that helps me, and whilst I'm doing this, I'm listening to the author or to someone reading the book. Then I listen to it while cycling as well, and at the gym, and that helps me quite a lot. Reading. So there's always a project I'm working on, and every month I meet with a colleague of mine. We sit down, because I'm a bit anal with numbers and graphs.
Okay.
So every month I sit down with this person and we draw graphs of steps and water intake and gym and tennis, and rather than it is to set goals as well, but it's also to celebrate how many miles I cycled, how many minutes I spent at the gym, and how my body is changing in a positive way.
Yeah.
So we do that, and I make sure that we do that. But then we plan goals for the following month.
Mm-hmm.
So for this month, that's my goal, trying to cut down on sugars.
Mm.
So I'm taking pictures of everything that
That you eat.
that includes sugar. I'm not being very, very obsessive about it.
Yeah.
So because I know that bread has sugar as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm talking about desserts and
Yes.
cakes and chocolates and
Yes.
ice creams.
Yeah.
Those are the main thing.
When I was cutting down weight, I used to allow myself one sweet a week. So that was.
I tried that and I failed miserably. So now I'm trying 3 times a week.
Okay.
And then I'm going to move down to 2. And I'm going to be very happy with 2. Because 2 is okay.
Mm-hmm. My sister actually takes 1 block of chocolates every day.
I have one here.
Dark chocolate.
Yes. And it is dark chocolate. You see? It's there.
It's
Yes,
enough.
it helps. It does. It cuts the craving.
Yes, it has this sort of placebo effect. It's not a placebo, but...
No, it's not, because I read about it.
Yeah.
It actually cuts down the craving. And it has to be dark chocolate because of some chemical as well. So there's a strong taste and the aftertaste, and that's why as well. But there's some chemical, I forgot what it was, that helps with.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, your mind registers the same kind of satisfaction like eating a whole scoop or 2 of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 1 small bar of dark chocolate.
Okay.
So as you can see there, I'm trying.
Trendy.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Yeah.
But
And fruit as well.
For sure, food.
Fruit.
Do you like fruit or not?
I love fruit, and it has the same pleasure. Eh?
Yes.
Not exactly the same,
Not
but
the same, but
it's the next best thing.
I'm obsessed about bananas, so I eat 2 to 3 bananas every day. To be honest. I mix them with overnight oats and with the yogurt, so it's.
Do you get body cramps?
No, I don't.
Of course not.
Oh,
That's
sure.
potassium.
No, I'll test it when I'm swimming this summer.
Yes.
Because usually I get body cramps when I'm
To be
swimming.
eating 3 bananas a day.
I don't think
You
so.
shouldn't. You
I
shouldn't.
don't think so. But you're a sex and relationship expert. How did this expertise help you in your own personal growth and relationships?
Yes. It's very similar to what we were saying earlier. Sitting with people who are going through a divorce, through separation, who feel lonely, who are widowed. I think that all of us, and when I say all of us, it is all of us, crave the sense of belonging. So some of us get it from a community.
Mm-hmm.
Priests, nuns get it from community, monks. But most of us crave wanting to be seen, wanting to be loved. That's what we see on Love Island as well, no?
Yeah.
Okay, there's the 20,000, which makes a difference, but people want to be loved. People want to be accepted. what interests me, and I think I've done quite a lot of work on myself when it comes to this. Not there yet, definitely not, but I think that the best feeling is when you feel accepted for who you truly are. But in order to feel accepted and loved for who you truly are, you need to be transparent. And I think that most people struggle with that. So in my room, I hear a lot of people say, I would never dare tell him this because he'll leave me. If I tell her this, she'll judge me. And I can see the pain and the loneliness in living with someone, sharing your life, your children, your home with someone who doesn't truly know you. Someone you feel you need to hide something from, otherwise they won't be there or they'll judge you for it. And I think that taught me a lot. And I think it made me realize that I'd rather have less people around me and be myself. Not the cliche being yourself.
Yes.
Being truly who I am. Okay? And it doesn't mean that take me or leave me my way or the highway. That's not what I'm talking about. There are still aspects of myself that I need to work on a lot. a lot of work and a lot of things I need to work on.
Yeah.
However, as far as I know, because obviously there are things maybe that I don't know about myself.
The blind spot, right?
Exactly. I try to be as transparent as possible. And if the other person can't, I'm at a stage in my life that if the other person can't take it, I don't think they're the right person for me. So be it colleagues, be it intimate relationships, I am myself, okay? I need to work on how I am honest, because sometimes you can be honest, blunt, without tact.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can be honest with tact, and I think that I need to work on that part. Being honest, but still honest, but in a good way. Yeah. It's in a sweeter way. In a sweeter way. So that's another problem, because I'm going to cut down the sugars and then be more sweet.
You have to compensate for that.
Yes. But yes. I think that's what I learned from my work, that people want to belong, and most people, and I say most with responsibility, would rather hide an aspect of themselves, a part of themselves, sacrifice a part of themselves in order to be accepted. Which doesn't make sense, because you're not being accepted.
Yeah.
You know, there's this fear that if I lose this person, if I tell them the truth, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life.
That's very lonely to think that as well, in a sense. And you're really thinking that you're not on the same level as your partner, and you should be at the same level. You should feel at the same level of comfortability in the sense that you are free to express yourself and to be who you are. So you're already putting yourself down.
Yes.
And I think you're putting yourself in a very difficult situation. So if the other person has abusive tendencies, you would be at a risk of suffering from abuse more.
Yes.
So it's good to be nice, but if you're too nice and
but nice is not necessarily what we're talking about here, because it could be that I am hiding aspects of myself and I'm not nice.
Yeah.
But I can be nice. This is what I'm working on, no?
Yes.
To be nice and still be transparent.
Yes.
To be transparent and be nice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But and I work with a lot of loneliness. And loneliness, not the solitude, being the older man who died alone, the woman whose kids don't visit her, kind of loneliness. Loneliness that I need to fill my time so much with running errands, going to work, developing some kind of side hustle, being on social media, so that I'm not alone. Because if I'm alone, I'm going to feel bad about myself, I'm going to feel miserable. And I'm going to get in contact with parts of me that make me feel really bad. And I'm not accepting those parts of me, so I don't show them to others. That kind of loneliness I'm talking about.
Yes.
You know? So I'm talking about people who are socialites, surrounded by a lot of people, you know, sometimes being the life and soul of the party, but then on their way home, they cry because they feel alone. And this would be people that you would never imagine, you know, would feel this way. Yeah. That kind of loneliness. And I think that what I explained now, it's easier to imagine, but to a lesser extent, I think that a lot of people are living like this. You know?
It's again, it's like we were discussing earlier on. It's about digging deep and see why you're experiencing these thoughts. It's about if, again, I'm not the expert in this area, but from a third party point of view, sort of, is I think you'd be in that situation because you've allowed yourself to put so many things under the carpet that now you're overwhelmed with so many emotions that you are not. You can't put your finger on one thing, but you don't know even from where to start. So, if again the microscopic steps, if you reflect just a little bit every day, it has a huge impact. But if you don't self-reflect for 10 years, you have 10 years of self-reflecting under the carpet that you need to deal with.
Yes.
It can be trauma, it can be little things, it can be small arguments, it can be small frustrations, but they pile up. So I think if you are in that position, it means that you didn't self-reflect or didn't have an outlet for you.
Yet, but you're still in time if you start
for sure,
working on this.
We always have a choice, as you said earlier on. I think we always have a choice.
And sometimes, looking back, dealing with your issues, your life this way, might have served its purpose. But my question is always, is it still serving you now? So being a workaholic and working from night till whatever, all day, might have served its purpose because you were not going home alone to an empty house, or you didn't have to deal with certain emotions or certain people in your life. But now that you're in a relationship, or now that you know your father has cancer, is it still there serving you, being at work all day? Now that you have a newborn, is it still serving you? Because this is the thing with coping strategies, We adopt coping strategies because they helped us at that point in time. And that's why I don't think I will ever tell anyone you shouldn't have never did drugs. You should have never been promiscuous. You should have never drank so much alcohol. No, it served you at that point in time. But the question is, today, now, is it still serving you? Because sometimes we adopt a coping strategy, which worked wonderfully at the time. We're still doing the same coping strategy now because it's the only thing we know. Because we're comfortable. But when we reflect on it and we think about it, no, it's not serving us now. So maybe it's about time that I feel uncomfortable for some time, so I change my coping strategy and I adopt another coping strategy.
Because we change, we grow, we experience different things in our life. So that is why self-reflection and growth is it's a journey, it's not a destination. We have milestones and we have to acknowledge that we have milestones and celebrate the milestones, and we've discussed throughout this podcast. But we're ever changing, so whatever worked, as you said, at a particular point in time, doesn't mean that it will work. So for example, if you're a teenager and listening to music solved your problems at the time because you could relate to the lyrics and to the music, perhaps today you have to read a book, go for a walk, go for a run, speak to someone. So have to change and readapt to our current self.
Which brings me to the best life lesson I've ever been taught. By a sailor. I met this sailor and we spent the whole night drinking. He taught me about dirty something. I forgot the name of the whiskey, of the cocktail, but it's whiskey and ginger ale.
Okay.
We spent the whole night drinking whiskey and ginger ale. It's one of my favorite cocktails nowadays. But apart from that, teaching me that recipe, he also taught me life is a series of letting goes. And I remember then changing something in me, and I find myself reminding myself this quite often, that in life, what we're doing every day is letting go. Sometimes it's letting go of people who don't serve us anymore, people who are toxic nowadays,
Yeah.
Maybe workplace that is not giving me what I need. Myself, my old self, letting go of my old self, letting go of coping strategies that are not healthy anymore. But when we think of this, it makes transitioning much easier. And it's about being present, but at the same time being detached from what you don't need.
I think it's about thinking that, or embracing the fact that things are finite. Yes. And you savor the moment that you spend. Yes. So, for example, the relationship with my mother is finite. Someday I will be gone, or she will be gone,
or the relationship will be gone.
Yes, everything is finite. So we become. That's a very, very good lesson for me as well, because you start to appreciate. And it reminds me of something. I think it's a famous physicist.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the name. Degrassi.
Mm-hmm.
He's a famous physicist, and he said that you know why dogs are so happy? Because every day of their life is a week of our lives. So if a day of their life is a week of our lives, they'd rather spend it well. They'd rather be happy, because one day of their life is worth 1 week of our life. So why can't we adopt the dog philosophy in that sense and be happy? Because life is short. So for some of us, it's shorter, and then not everyone's life is the same.
But then we're being told all the time to accumulate, accumulate wealth, accumulate likes on Facebook, accumulate friendships, accumulate follows. So there's that struggle, between what we're being told, that it's important to accumulate, Nowadays I go in schools and kids, because 13-year-olds are kids, when asked the question, what do you want to be when you're older? And it's not one or two, in every school. Say a millionaire. And for me that is that is very worrying, because we developed a society where the tool has become the goal within itself. So money is a tool, right? So way back, you had tomatoes, I had sheep, you give me kilos of tomatoes for my sheep. But then you became vegetarian, you don't need my sheep, but I want your tomatoes. So we developed a currency. So you can give me tomatoes, and I can give you something else instead of sheep, because you don't want sheep.
Sort of bartering.
Exactly. But all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but slowly, we're at a point where the goal of some of our kids is to accumulate currency.
Because that defines you.
Because then, with being a millionaire, you get the power. But then, what are we teaching these people about that power? What do you do with this power? And when we ask them, why do you want to be a millionaire? The next answer would be to have a house with a pool and cars. So again, more accumulation. So it's not so that I can enjoy time with my family. It's not I want to accumulate so much wealth that I can spend more time with my family, or I can give my kids a better life. No. I want to accumulate wealth for the sake of wealth itself. So people look at me and say, he has a house with a pool and cars, which is worrying.
The thought is worrying. I think what worries me the most is if the person doesn't manage to become a millionaire, how would they feel about that? Would they feel that they are a failure because they didn't become a millionaire? Because you can reach happiness even if you don't have a lot of wealth. You can still be happy in life.
Of course.
So, but it's the attribute and the value that we give to the goal if we don't reach it. Because you have to ask yourself, what happens if you don't reach that goal?
Yes.
I think that bears the question, how would you feel?
And I would be arrogant enough to say that if your goal is to become a millionaire, there's a massive chance you will never become a millionaire.
Yes.
Because if what you're doing you don't care about, you're just doing it for the sake of earning money, there's no soul in what you're doing, there's no passion in what you're doing, so you're not going to be rewarded for it, for sure. And I also think that you're not ready for that kind of wealth because of your mindset.
Yeah.
But if you focus on what's important, I want to help people, I want to do good care, I want to make people live longer, then yes, if you're passionate about what you're doing, your ikigai, your meaning, your purpose, then you can get paid for it, for sure. And people will see your passion and they want to employ you, they want to engage you to help them in whatever you're offering, you know. And then yes, there is a bigger chance of you making more wealth. And the irony is that then you're already happy doing what you do.
Yes.
So you don't even care about the wealth you're accumulating.
It's ironic, right?
Yeah.
But it's very true. I mean, it's the person you become throughout the process. So if you love what you do, it's the law of attraction to some extent as well. Because if you love what you do, automatically it will attract more people towards that path, and you'd become a sort of a leader in that area. If you're an expert in hairdressing, you'd become a leader in that, and people will tend to follow because you're very passionate about what you're doing. So, for example, football players are very wealthy, but as soon as their career as a footballer terminates, once they reach a certain age, they have to learn how to budget. They need to learn how to live.
Yes.
And most of them, they lose their wealth because they don't know how to budget. They know how to manage that huge responsibility.
Yes.
And if you're given $1 million or €1 million, and you don't know how to manage that, and you don't know how to invest it because you didn't develop that maturity to be able to handle that sort of power.
Because you don't deserve it.
Yeah, you'll still waste it.
Yes.
Because if you have the €1 million and you buy the villa, you have the cars, those are finite. Yeah. The house needs wear and tear. The house needs maintenance. There's wear and tear. The cars, it's what he says, still just the ice. It melts. The value goes away. So ultimately, you invested in nothing besides property.
Yes.
But again, with great power comes responsibility, and you need to be mature enough to handle that kind of power.
Yes. For sure. Yeah. So we're talking about suffering, about sex, about love.
Yes. Matthew, it's been a very insightful conversation. Thank you for joining this podcast. I'm very humbled that you've accepted my invitation as well.
Thank you.
As I have expressed in our first meeting, I didn't have any agenda for this podcast, but I'm glad that we've discussed and touched upon many topics. Hopefully, this was insightful even to you.
Yes, it was, definitely.
Perhaps it was a different kind of sort of interview that you're used to, because touched upon different topics.
Yes.
So, thank you for sharing.
I loved it, I enjoyed it, and I hope we get to do it again, because I did enjoy it. With the mics or without the mics?
Yes, for sure, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.